Okay, we've got our Velcro, also called hook and loop tape, which I believe I referred to it as elastic. I think I said I need to get my elastic. Ignore me, it's not elastic. Rarely will I ever be using elastic, okay? It's Velcro, and it is 1 inch wide, okay? So we know our, I'm calling them ties, just go with it. They need to be at least 1 inch wide, okay? So we want to keep that in mind. So now to figure out how long they need to be, since I do not have the chair, we've got our piece on. I've turned back roughly where our top stitch will sew when we close this up, okay? Now, I'm just going to imagine the back of the chairs here. And I'm going to imagine that the back of the chair is 2.5 inches. You know, dining chairs don't have super bulky legs normally. So we're going to say this is enough here, okay? The 2.5 inches would be enough. So we're going to measure how far out when this would go back in. I'm going to stick this back in here. See my hole where the tie's going to go? I'm going to put it back in 3/4 of an inch, okay? So I'm just going to slide this in here at 3/4 of an inch on the tape measure. Pull it out to the end of the binding buddy, and we're at 4. Oh, let me slide that back in. Put the binding buddy up against your welt here. And we are at 4.25 inches, okay, to the end of to the outside of the binding buddy, 4.25. So now we need to measure what we are across the back, and we are, make sure you go out here, you know, where the tie is actually going to go, to the outside. Oh, can't see, sorry. Make sure you go to the outside, not to here, to out here, okay? We're going to measure from there over to the other end, and that is hitting right there. It's 15.75. So we need to add, hold on just a minute. Okay, get our little plot board. All right, we're 15.75 across the back. So we have 15.75. That was across the back. Now you remember when we measured from in here to back here, you know, just like this. We stuck that in there at 3/4. We measured back here, and it's 4.25. So we have to have a 4.25 here and a 4.25 here, okay? So we're going to add, let's go over here, 4.25 plus 4.25 is 8.5. So we need to add 8.5 to our 15.75. 8.5, ready? All right, 3/4.5 give us 1.25 inches. Carry our inch up here. So we're 16, and 8 is 20. So 24.25 is our exact number. Now what we need to do is divide that by 2, because we need 2 of our ties. Just remember, bear with me, I'm calling them ties. So we divide that by 2, and we get 12.1/8. Okay, we need to determine our overlap, because we want to be sure since we don't have the chairs, we want to be sure that there's plenty of room here for her to, you know, for these to overlap and actually for the Velcro to grab. So let's go look and decide what size we like. Okay, got our tape measure here. Just looking at this, I like 4 inches. I don't know about you guys, you know, make up your own mind, but I'm going to say a 4-inch overlap. I think that's plenty to give us leeway in there if it needs to be pulled smaller, if it needs to be let out some. I believe we could grab within 4 inches for each piece, okay? So let's go over here and let's add 4 inches. That takes us to 16.1/8. Now, we also will have our raw edge on the end where the Velcro will be. So we need to add an amount to turn back on that end, so we do not have the raw edge, right? Okay. Now, of course, this is up to you. I like to add 1 inch. I like a good amount in there to grab. So I'm going to add 1 inch. And this is my final right here, okay? I'm going to cut 2 pieces that are 17.1/8. And then I will turn back 1 inch on the end. I'll put the Velcro on. And then we'll slide them in 3/4 of an inch, okay? Now, we know we need 2 at 17 1/8. Our Velcro is 1 inch. I prefer to take whatever size I need, which I know I need 1 inch. So I'm going to take 1 inch. And I like to just multiply that by 4 so I can fold it in and then in again, which, we'll see. I'm sure you all know this. It's just doing a binding, So we go 1 times 4, 4. So we're going to cut 2 pieces that are 4 by 17 1/8. And of course, these are inches. That right there, that's our number, okay? So let's get to cutting these. Okay, first thing we need to do, well, actually I was going to say the first thing we need to do is check our selvage and cut it off. But I already have a nice edge down here. It's straight, so I'm just going to cut off of it, okay? And we are 17 1/8 by 4. So let's go 17 1/8. It's right here. And then we go 4. I have 2 of these, remember. So I'm going to go at 8 inches because 4 times 2 is 8. So mark it up here and then mark it at 4 inches. Can you guys see that? That's 4. Right, come down here. Mark it at the bottom. Mark it at 4. Come back up here and mark it at 17 1/8. And connect the dots again. Now, if you notice too, I have no concerns about matching these to anything. That's up to you if you would like yours to, okay? All right, let's cut them out. All right, now, roll this back up out the way a little bit here. All right, let me go grab my clips, and I'll show you all how I do this. Like I said, it is just like a binding, okay? I'm going to take it. I'm going to fold it in half. Make a crease down it. And you may have a fabric that shows a crease, and you may not. I think I've got one that's probably not really going to show a crease. Yeah, see, that didn't really do much. But I can sort of see it. So I'm going to take this side, fold it into the middle. This side, fold it into the middle. And then we fold it over, just like that. Ta-da! Put a clip on it. Keep doing it. And you can kind of, space this out, and then it'll work out back between. You don't have to go right on it the entire way and drive yourself crazy. See, like this right here, we can just do this between. Look at that. See, just works out. Oh, okay, and do you see what I forgot? I forgot to turn back an end. So I'm just going to grab an end. And do you remember what I said I was going to turn back? I said 1 inch, remember? And I'm going to eyeball it. I'm going to turn back 1 inch. And then fold it in just like the rest. Get your strings off. Don't want to get those caught up in there. And there we go. Now, you see how you've got your little raw edges right here? Can you see them? tuck those down in. Seriously, push that. Or this is what I do, just push it down in. See how? There we go, they're gone. That's what I do, just push them in. Put a clip on that end, and Bob's your uncle. Okay? The other end we don't need to worry about because it's going in to the cover, so it can stay as a raw edge, okay? I'm going to do the same thing to this one, and then we'll go to the machine with them. Okay? What I like to do is I actually like to start, let me roll my needle up here. Okay. I like to start along the edge where we folded it back, you know, our finished edge. And I like to come in here and sew this direction and catch that before it has any chance to fly out, okay? So I'm just going to take these two off the end. And if these start coming out, you know, grab your little scissors and just jab them back in there. Jab, 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 okay? So, as I told you before, I do not start on the ends, especially not with something like this. Now, see, we have our big inch back in here. So, we don't have to rest our foot, like, right on the edge or anything. We can come back in here if we want to, which is what I am going... Well, I'm not going to go right on the edge. I'm going to give myself just a smidge, see? Just a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch, okay? And I come all the way, and I go all the way back. That is just my preference, okay? You do whatever you want to. I'm going to back up and turn so that, see, now when I put my foot back down, I'm going to be coming right down here. See that? Right down through there. All right, let's go. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and put the Velcro on the back. Just, well, actually there's a method to my madness, and you guys will see. But I do like to put it on the bobbin side, top stitch. Look how pretty that top stitch is. And then the bobbin's kind of just flat and blue. So, I'm trying to get in the light here where you guys can see. So, I do like to put it on the bobbin side. Now, you remember how we talked about a 4-inch overlap for these? Just in case, you know, it is incredibly smaller than what I've estimated, I do want to be sure that when it pulls, let me see if I can, I'm stuck to everything, hang on guys. You know, if we do a 4-inch overlap, which would be here, that would be a 4-inch overlap, okay, like this. We want to make sure these are both covered in Velcro, right? But what if her chair is actually smaller and she needs to come in more with them? So what if she needs to go in more like this? And what if we get too far that our Velcro starts running out, you know, and maybe we're not overlapping or just a little bit and it's not enough. So I'm going to actually extend the Velcro. I want to do the Velcro strips. We're doing a 4-inch overlap, so just to be safe, I'm going to do the Velcro. I'm going to do 6-inch strips on each one. Okay, so we're going to use our handy dandy little measuring guide on the sewing machine here. And I've made a mess with the Velcro. So let's go right here to 6 inches. Okay, and we're just going to snip it right there. Okay, and yes, I cannot stand to leave this. I'm putting it back before it takes out the world. You can see everything's already getting stuck in it. So let's just put this away. Okay. There we go. We are corralled. And I'm going to go ahead and get this other piece settled. I'm going to just take it, line them up. I always figure that's the best way to make sure they're the exact same size and they'll fit. Come right here, snip them off even. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Alright, now, let's just take one of these. Doesn't matter which one. I never find that it does anyway. And remember how I said this is our pretty top stitch side? If you can see that, if I can get the light right. Ugly bobbin side. So, take it and just lay it. See, here's where our inch comes from. Just gonna lay it right across there. And we're gonna sew this sucker on here. I want my pretty top stitch to remain on the top. I'm actually sewing this with the Velcro down. Okay, and I'm just starting kind of, you know, I don't think I'm going to start right on the corner. I think that's sort of a bad idea. Okay, start back a little bit. Ready? Just keep an eye on where the end of this is, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and just roll it there and stop. Jump over a bit. You don't want to jump far, you know, you don't want to be like right on the very, very edge of this where something would come out, so don't do that. You would, like, you know, run off and then it look ugly. All right, here we go. And you notice I'm just going back in as close to these other stitches as I can get. Okay. That's sewn on. So see, there we go. Still got our pretty stitch on top, our ugly box and stitches on the back. Okay. If you have any concerns about this, you know, sew closer than I did. No, truly, I do mean that. If you do have any, like I said, any concerns. Okay. Let's get our other one ready, and then we'll get these put in and get it top stitched and get this wrapped up. Okay. We've got both of them ready, and now if you'll notice, see my top stitch here, and then my Velcro's here. My top stitch here, my Velcro on the back side of the top stitch. And you notice both my top stitches, bottom, bottom, so that when these go together, and this is just my preference, I'm just a little picky this way, see? Look at that. They're gonna flow with the top stitch and all at the bottom. Okay, just something to think about. You may not care which way that goes, but I prefer it that way. I just think it's a little bit, you know, nice little finish. Okay, let's go put this in, like I said, and get the clips on it. Top stitch it. Now, since I am so persnickety about this being on the bottom, I want to make sure when I put these in that they're going to the bottom, right? So, I'm going to go ahead and turn this back, actually, and sort of get it established. Like so. And then turn the top one into it. Like so. Okay, there we go. Alrighty. And I will be top stitching on the green fabric. So, you know, make sure, keep that in mind which side you'll be top stitching on, okay? Now I'm going to go ahead, take these apart, since this is the one that will be going here. I'm just going to slide it right in there. Remember, let's mark this. We planned for 3/4. And you can't see what I'm doing. We planned for 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to make a mark right there. and slide that in right to my mark, 3/4 of an inch. There we go. And just push it down against where we sewed up to right there. I'm gonna sort of put me a clip there to hold that in place. Right, let's keep trucking. Okay. Same thing. Let's go mark our little 3/4 of an inch here. And see, when they go together, this one will be on the front, but ta-da, will match. So we slide that one into its chalk mark. Push it down against where we sewed it there. Kind of angle this clip right there. Alright. Now, as we go around this, you know what a top stitch is. We're just going to pull these edges out so that they're even. And I actually like to go ahead and do this and put clips on it. That's just me. I just find it ensures that I do have it pulled out where it needs to go without just sewing and completely forgetting what I'm doing. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go around the whole thing, and I will be back to you guys, and we will get on the machine and get the top stitch and get this done. Finally, our quick little project that I've turned into like an hour-long video, right, guys? Okay, stand by. I've got it top stitched. Let's put it on and see how it works. Okay, see I'm tugging it back, and nope, you can see that. See I'm tugging it back, and the corners are just going right where I want them. Corner, corner, back, and then ta-da! And see how this will work. See how this is very, very large to come back. So if it's more like this that she needs, boop. See, yes, your ends will be flapping, but it still will grab wherever she needs it. If it needs to be somewhere in between, maybe it's more like that. The Velcro will still hit. And actually, it seems to be sticking to this fabric, so that works well. But there we go. And there we have a cover for a dining chair. Let's smooth that out. Ta-da! Spin it around so you guys can see the side. Okay. There we go. Simple, right? Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Hope this helped.